Hello friends, I am Nisha Sharma, Associate Professor, Department of English. The topic under discussion today is from the play Tughlaq that has been prescribed in your syllabus unit C. And the question that we are discussing is Tughlaq as a history play. Just as in my previous lecture, I told you that the plays written by Girish Karnad are based on history, mythology. So this particular play is based on a historical character, Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Let's see where Girish Karnad follows history and where he deviates from it. So let's begin. Now, first of all, we should know what is the nature of a history play. A historical play seems to be a contradiction in terms. History requires truth to the events of the past, but art requires imagination and concentration on needs of art. This means, in other words, that the writer of a historical play must use the facts of history with discretion to suit the needs of his drama while maintaining overall truth to history. He has to deviate from the facts of history and even introduce new characters in the interest of dramatic effectiveness. This is what Karnad has also done in the present play. Karnad's first introduction to the character of Tughlaq through Ishwari Prasad. Tughlaq ruled India in the 14th century. Karnad first read of him in Ishwari Prasad and was quite fascinated by him. He himself tells us, and when I came to Tughlaq, I said, "Oh, marvelous! That is what I wanted." But as I started reading about Tughlaq, I suddenly realized what a fantastic character I had hit upon. I started with Ishwari Prasad and then went on to all the contemporary material, and suddenly I felt this character was growing in front of me. Tughlaq was the most extraordinary character to come on the throne of Delhi. In religion and philosophy, even in calligraphy, in battle, in warfield, anything we talk about, he seems to have outshone anyone who came before him or after him. After that, the writing of the play was not difficult at all. Now, Karnad's portrayal of Tughlaq's character. As regard the idealism, scholarship, religious tolerance, and his feelings of Hindu Muslim unity, Karnad closely follows the historical sources. Karnad portrays Tughlaq as generous and charitable in the first scene. He accepts the Qazi's judgment graciously, in which he himself is held guilty of misappropriating the land of Vishnu Prasad, and he also sanctions him a grant of 500 silver dinars and offers the said Vishnu Prasad a post in civil service to ensure him a regular and adequate income. Tughlaq was a great scholar, idealist, and visionary. Of all the sultans who had hitherto occupied the throne of Delhi, he was the most learned and accomplished. He also invited non Muslim scholars for discussion. He used to have discussion with Muslims, Hindus, Jain scholars, Buddhist monks, and Hindu thinkers. He was liberal in matters of religion. Girish Karnad closely follows historical resources in this respect. In the opening scene, the old man represents the orthodox clerical class, which vehemently oppose Tughlaq's liberal and rational policies. He says, "And get kicked by an infidel too? It's an insult to Islam." The young man who defends the liberal attitude of the Sultan appreciates the devotion to Islam and says, "Now you pray 5 times a day because that's the law, and if you break it, you will have the officer on your neck." Can you mention one earlier sultan in whose time people read the Quran in the streets like now? Idealism and humanism are vividly presented in his speech with his mother. Karnad's Tughlaq is a celebrated scholar. Karnad follows history in making Tughlaq guilty of parricide and fratricide. Shifting of the capital. Girish Karnad Girish Karnad makes proper use of historical evidence about Tughlaq's decision to change the capital from Delhi to Daulatabad. It is a turning point in his career and it causes inexpressible suffering to the common people. Historical evidence also proves that Tughlaq took the drastic step to shift the capital for effective administrative control of the south. Some historians believe that Sultan Tughlaq was suspicious of the people of Delhi and by driving them out to Daulatabad, he wanted to cut their power. The scheme was implemented in stages, keeping in view the convenience of the people. Karnad describes the shifting as a mass exodus. He follows contemporary history, who, as has already been explained, condemned the Sultan indiscreetly. The contemporary historians' emphasis on mass exodus, which Girish Karnad also presents in Tughlaq, is not correct. In fact, the upper classes comprising nobles, courtiers, sheikhs, ulema, and the elite were shifted to Daulatabad. The general Hindu public remained unaffected by this project. It is the historical fact that no other major reform brought so much of unpopularity and infamy to the Sultan as the forced migration of the Delhi people to Daulatabad. The Sultan lost the confidence of the people. However, the change of the capital strengthened the feeling of national integration about which Girish Karnad is quite silent. It is obvious that Girish Karnad ignores the achievements of Tughlaq and highlights only his weaknesses. Alteration of historical facts by Girish Karnad. In order to prove that Sultan Tughlaq was a devil, Karnad greatly alters the historical facts of the rebellion of Ainul Mul. Karnad makes Tughlaq weak. Karnad very much deviates from history in the depiction of the rebellion of Ainul Mul. Disintegration of Tughlaq's personality. Historian Barni writes that the Sultan was a habitual player with men and he acted only to shed the blood of innocent Muslims. A man of imagination, Tughlaq asked his subjects to carry his fantastic schemes into effect, and when they failed to do so, he punished them ruthlessly. Failure to carry out the royal orders meant disobedience, hostility, and wickedness, and thousands of men were involved in trouble on this account. Karnad makes much of Barney's colored picture of Tughlaq and, like him, portrays the Sultan as addicted to cruelty. Next is introduction to copper currency. Another important administrative step which Tughlaq implemented was the introduction of copper coins. Probably the silver coin known as dinar was in fashion in Tughlaq's reign. Tughlaq issued the copper coin in place of silver coin. The shortage of silver, not only in India but all the world over, led the Sultan to issue the token currency, which had been successfully issued in the 13th century in China and Iran. The Sultan's experiment miserably failed as the minting of counterfeit coins became very common and consequently the national economy was shattered. Tughlaq's plans were frustrated by the unimaginativeness and non cooperation of his officers and subjects. Girish Karnad uses the issuance of the token currency only to emphasize the Sultan's failure, and he made no comment on his farsightedness. Natural calamities. Karnad also referred to famine and plague which ravaged India during the Sultan's reign, but he does not sympathize with public who had to face a number of calamities, both natural and man-made. Karnad has portrayed Nazim as an important character who exercises great influence on Tughlaq and is later on murdered by the machinations of his stepmother. In history, he is not a very important character. The episode of Aziz and Azam, or to say the subplot of the play, too has been included with the purpose of creating humor and to exhibit the failure of Tughlaq's administration. Karnad has taken only partial and one-sided view of Tughlaq's character and administration and has based the plot of Tughlaq only on burning and other orthodox historical sources. Karnad in Tughlaq lacks in a just and impartial treatment of historical theme. Thank you.